dog training, I'm gonna go over your e-collar. Here's your e-collar. We're gonna go over the receiver portion first. So here's the receiver of the e-collar. It's gonna go on the sides of your dog's neck. It doesn't go on the trachea and it doesn't go on the back of the neck. You're gonna fit it where it has one finger under the buckle and it doesn't rotate across the dog's neck or slide around. It's just gonna sit on the sides of the dog's neck. Okay, so when you open your box, we have our receiver and our remote. We'll go over some of the other things in the box later. So for our receiver, we're gonna turn it on with this red dot. There is a matching red dot on your remote. You're going to touch it to turn on the receiver. When the light blinks green, the receiver is on, and when it flashes green, the receiver is fully charged. As the battery starts dying, this light will change colors. We'll go to orange and then red. On the back of the receiver, we do have the charging port. This charging port is exactly the same as the one on your remote. In your box, there is a charger with two ends, exactly the same, so you can charge both devices simultaneously. Here's your box, and here's your charger. Two ends. Also in your box, they incorporate a clicker, which we're not using for training, and some contact points and other little tools that are just to make sure certain things are working on the e-collar if you were having some sort of issue with it malfunctioning. There is a manual underneath the tray in the box, so you can always check out that manual and read over some of the more intricate details of the collar itself, but I'm gonna go over how we use it. We're not going to attach the leash to this collar. The collar will always remain, the leash will be attached to their flat collar or their prong collar. This is pretty much all there is to the receiver. It's gonna sit on the sides of the dog's neck. Now we're gonna move on to our remote. When we turn our remote on and off, we're gonna use this L button on the back of the remote to turn it on and off. You hold it down for about 10 seconds for the LED screen to turn on, and then when it's on, you'll notice it says 1D. It should have M and C, and then and whatever number is on the dial. Right now it's on 0. I'm gonna switch this to just C. I like just the continuous level, which is the M and C button on the back. I'm gonna hold it down for about 5 seconds and it should beep. That means now it's just on M. We want C, so we have to scroll through. Now it's just on C. I like the continuous level. This allows me to give a pulse feeling for up to 15 seconds. I prefer giving the dog a longer sensation before I increase the intensity of the collar. This gives the dog more chances to listen without the collar getting stronger. When we rotate from the back of the remote to the side, we have a T. This T stands for test. It makes your collar vibrate. The vibration will not mean anything to your dog. It's not more humane, less humane. It's a feeling, but it's not necessarily paired with anything. So typically a dog will respond adversely to it because they don't understand what that feeling is. So we're not going to use it on the dog, but it is great to make sure that your collar and your receiver are talking to each other and you've turned both devices on. So when I take it off the charger in the morning to put it on my dog, I always turn it on. I hit vibrate. If both are vibrating, both devices are on. If I hit vibrate and the receiver is not vibrating, that means I have not turned something on. I'm gonna check if it's the receiver I missed or if I missed turning on the remote. When you go back to the screen, here's your LED screen. This is also a battery indicator light right here. It's gonna change colors just like the receiver does. We have the black and the red S. I only use the black S. The black S is going to correct at the number on the screen. Nothing goes through on 0. But as soon as you turn up the dial, you'll see that the collar and the remote are talking to each other. They're both blinking at the same time. If you hit the red button, it adds 5 to the number on the screen. That 5 is just a temporary boost. As soon as you lift your hand, your finger off the button, it will go back to the number that it was set to. It's not going to increase in increments of 5, it's just going to stay back on the number that the dial is set to. So I prefer just using the black S and not thinking about using another button. I will just turn up the dial a little bit at a time to give myself increases if I need to. Most dogs don't need to go up by 5, they might only need 2 or 3, so we want to give them as many chances to listen at the smallest number that they can. Okay, so we got the dial, it goes from 0 all the way up to high. High is just the highest level. Each collar is has its own intensity. So we're on a model that is the 300, the mini, which is its own intensity. So if you were to get a stronger collar, a 20 on that collar is different than a 20 on this collar, that's different than the 20 on the micro. So we're not gonna focus in on that number or what number it is, but just how your dog responds to it. Most of the collars are designed the same with how they turn on and off. The intensity of the collar is going to be based on your dog's response to the collar itself, and we're only going to look for a small response and not a big reaction to the feeling. We're going to set the number to the smallest number we notice the dog feels the collar and looks at that direction or does a command after we touch the collar to see if they felt it. If they felt the collar, they responded, and they sat or down or looked towards it, we're going to keep it at that number. And then once we give a command, we're going to say the commands and then allow the dog a chance to respond. If the dog doesn't respond, we're going to use the negative marker, no, repeat the command, and then give 1 click with that working number. The dog does not respond again, we're going to say the command, and then we're going to go ahead and hold down the button for a few seconds to see if the dog will respond to a longer pulse feeling. If the dog still doesn't respond at that time, we'll repeat the command and increase by a couple of dials and until the dog responds to the command. So that is 4 chances to listen before the intensity of that collar gets a little bit stronger. And we're only going to go up a little bit at a time until the dog responds, giving them plenty of chances to respond. The goal of training is not to go ahead and scare the dog into the training, but to go ahead and hold the dog accountable to the command. So the longer the dog takes to listen, the stronger the collar will get, but we're not allowing the dog to make the decision to come to us and not forcing it. We want them to feel free and able to make the decision. That way the obedience and the word is their choice to come, and then we're going to reward them for the best behavior they did, and that way is going to promote them to do that behavior faster. So this is how we use the e-collar. If you have any questions or anything like that, please ask your trainer. Otherwise, you can email us at info@granitemountaindogtraining.com with any questions or concerns. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.